This is Steve Wright. Steve lives in Ipswich, where he works as a forklift truck driver. His life is marked by failed relationships, financial struggles, and isolation. Despite appearing unremarkable, beneath the surface, Steve harbored a darkness that would soon turn Ipswich into a town gripped by fear. One evening, Steve ventured into Ipswich's red light district, where he met Tania Nicol, a 19-year-old who also lived in Ipswich. Tania had been struggling to make ends meet and had turned to sex work. During one of her routine nights on the streets, she encountered Steve. He approached her casually, striking up a conversation before convincing her to get into his car. That was the last time Tania was seen alive. When Tania failed to return home, her friends and family became deeply concerned and reported her missing. The police launched an investigation, but initially found no leads. After 6 weeks, their search came to a tragic end when Tania's body was discovered in a rural area near Ipswich. She had suffered blunt force trauma to the head, and it became clear that she had been murdered. While the police were investigating Tania's murder, another young woman, Gemma Adams, went missing. Gemma, 25, also lived in Ipswich and, like Tania, had been working in the red light district. One evening, Gemma encountered Steve Wright. He struck up a conversation with her, gaining her trust and convinced her to get into his car. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. When her friends realized Gemma had disappeared, they reported her missing. The police began to intensify their investigation, recognizing a potential pattern. After 17 days, Gemma's body was discovered in a rural area near the River Orwell, just outside Ipswich. Like Tania, Gemma had been murdered, and her body left in a remote location. With 2 murders now confirmed, the police appealed to the public for information. Media outlets covered the story, warning that women in the red light district were being targeted. While the investigation was underway, another victim, Annalie Alderton, was found. Annalie, 24, also a sex worker, had been last seen in Ipswich. Her body was discovered on December 10, 2006, in another rural area near Ipswich. She had been strangled, and her death bore chilling similarities to the previous 2 murders. At this point, the police knew they were dealing with a serial killer. In response, the police escalated their efforts. They increased patrols in Ipswich, particularly in the red light district, and made urgent public appeals for information. They also consulted criminal profilers and forensic specialists to narrow their list of suspects. Despite these efforts, the killings continued. On December 12, 2006, the bodies of 2 more women, Paula Clennell, 24, and Annette Nichols, 29, were discovered on the same day in rural areas near Ipswich. Both women were sex workers, and their deaths fit the now-established pattern. With 5 women murdered in such a short time, the police were under immense pressure. They focused their investigation on Ipswich's red light district, gathering CCTV footage, witness testimonies, and forensic evidence. During the investigation, a breakthrough came when forensic analysis of Annalie Alderton's body revealed traces of DNA that did not belong to her. The DNA was run through the national database, and it matched Steve Wright, who had prior offenses. Additionally, CCTV footage emerged showing Wright picking up some of the victims in his car. With mounting evidence, the police arrested Steve Wright on December 19, 2006. Steve Wright was charged with the murders of all 5 women. At his trial, forensic evidence, including his DNA found on the victims, and witness accounts sealed his conviction. He was found guilty of all 5 murders and sentenced to life imprisonment. Wright will spend the rest of his life in prison, leaving Ipswich haunted by the memory of his crimes, but relieved that justice was served.